What if I told you the fastest way to skyrocket your NFL DFS profits had nothing to do with your lineups? My name's Jordan Chand. I'm the head coach here at SaberSim, and obviously the lineups you play in your contests are going to matter, and we have other videos talking about that part of NFL strategy. But the fastest way to improve your profits in NFL DFS in 2023 is with your contest selection and bankroll management principles. And in this video, I'm going to walk through our 7 keys to maximize your profit this NFL season while minimizing your risk. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So let's talk a bit about contest selection here. Most of us can't afford to just play every single contest in the lobby, so we have to be intentional about what contests we're choosing to play. The problem is most of the conventional advice about what contests you should be playing isn't very good, or at least it's incomplete. There's a lot of advice out there that you should be playing just single entries and small fields and 3 maxes here in 2023, which can be a decent idea because a lot of times these contests end up having a higher theoretical ROI. They play a little bit softer, but they are very high variance. You end up just making a few very small concentrated bets on the handful of lineups that you're able to play in single entry contests. There's people out there still playing the 80-20 cash GPP split, which has been around for years, but this strategy isn't as foolproof as it used to be because cash games have gotten a lot tougher. There's not as much recreational money in cash games anymore, and it's a bit too easy to build a competitive cash lineup with any decent average projections and a traditional optimizer. Playing the lottery tickets, like entering into the Millie Maker or other giant contests that are extremely top-heavy, is a really fun sweat, but it is an extremely risky way to apply your bankroll over the course of the NFL season. If you're looking to build your bankroll in a sustainable way, you need a balanced approach to contest selection. And what I'm going to suggest as that balanced approach here might be a little bit new or counterintuitive to you from what you've heard before, but these 7 ways are the best way to select your contest this NFL season. Before we jump into those 7 rules here, let's talk quickly about how we actually got here. Because again, there is a lot of advice about contest selection in the DFS industry, but not a lot of people that are actually willing to back up why they recommend what they do with stone cold data. And that's exactly what we did here. Last summer, we ran an experiment, a simulation experiment on the MLB lobby, but a lot of this still applies for NFL here, to simulate different players using the same amount of bankroll, but playing different combinations of contests on each individual slate and what the swings look like to those different players' bankroll. How much did they win on average at the end of the season? What did their losing seasons look like? How often did they go broke? And what we ultimately came up with was the DFS profit plan, which was the contest portfolio, the mix of contests that generally performed the best, maximizing profit and minimizing risk. But the most important thing we found from this particular experiment was that the risks or the stakes of getting this wrong were actually extremely high. It is very easy to go bust or to overextend yourself playing a normal range of your bankroll and playing contests that feel right, but actually are exposing you to a lot of variance and risk. And you can actually see that here on this slide with kind of an abridged version of some of the data that came out of that experiment here. And this is 3 hypothetical players all playing $100 a day, one focusing on single entries, one focusing on mostly multi-entry, and then the other playing the DFS profit plan, which again, we'll talk about here in a second. And you can see for these 3 hypothetical players all playing $100 a day, the end of season expectations of about how much they win on average is all very similar. But in these columns here, you're seeing the bankroll needed to lower the risk of ruin basically to X%, so 0% or 5% or 10%. And you can see the player playing a balanced mix of these contests and following our other DFS profit plan principles here only needs about a $2,000 budget of total bankroll here to play $100 a day safely here, lowering that risk of ruin to somewhere between 0 and 3%. Somebody playing single entry contests with $100 a day would actually need a bankroll of $4,500 to lower their risk of ruin to 5%. And if they were playing $100 a day with a $2,000 bankroll, which again seems pretty normal for most players, I think there's probably a lot of people out there that are doing exactly that. You might not even realize that your risk of ruin might be close to near 50% playing those kinds of high variance contests here. And it's a similar story for the multi-entry contests. So we did release a video series talking about this experiment in more detail. I'll link the capstone video that came out of that in the description of this one if you want to look closer at this. But for now, let's actually talk about what the DFS profit plan entails. So these are the 7 rules for NFL DFS contest selection and bankroll management this season. The first is you're going to wager 2.5% to 5% of your bankroll per main slate. You're going to stick to GPPs, no cash games here in 2023. You want to play under $3 contests for as long as possible. Those are contests that the top pros on both DraftKings and FanDuel don't have access to at all, so you're going to be playing against softer competition. You're going to play about 40% of your daily wager, that 2.5% to 5% of your bankroll, into single entry and 3 max contests. These are going to be higher ROI, higher variance contests, and you're going to put about 40% of your entries into those. And you put the rest into lower variance 20 max and 150 max contests. Finally, you want to make sure you're playing the right lineups into the right contests and following smart diversification principles. And we'll talk more about those two in just a second. So now let me show you how I've applied these rules to the actual contests and entries that I'm going to be playing for week 1 of the NFL season. For the rest of the video, I'm going to be working in SaberSim, which is optimized and built to be playing and building lineups for this kind of contest selection strategy here, but you can really apply this framework to any tool that you want to so choose. But on SaberSim, I've already registered for these contests, so I'm going to go over to the contest tab here now and download and upload my file from DK. So we'll go ahead and get this uploaded and we'll talk about the contest that I've played here. So first things first, the bankroll that I'm setting for this NFL DFS season is $2,000, which means I'm going to be playing 5% of that per NFL main slate, which means about $100 in entries, and that's what I have here. You can see in the type I'm focusing exclusively on GPP contests. I want to be playing contests where I'm able to maximize my edge, and a lot of the casual recreational money in DFS in 2023 is in those GPPs. From here, let's look at the buy-ins. You can see I'm playing mostly, almost entirely contests here that are under that $3 range here, or most of my entries are under that $3 range. I do have to creep up above that $3 point here to start playing some additional single entries and 3 maxes because I'm filling out a lot of the ones that are available to me under $3, but I've played as many contests under $3 as possible. And again, the main reason we want to do that is because DraftKings and FanDuel both have rules that say the top players that have reached a certain threshold in lifetime winnings or entries, simply can't even see those contests in the lobby. So you're playing against a much softer pool of players in those contests. Now, if we sort by entries here, you can see how I've matched about 40% of my total entries into single entry and 3 max, and the other 60% here into 20 max and 150 max. And in practice, it's okay if you're anywhere from about 25 to 50% of your entries on those single entry contests here. So if you want to play more larger field, MME type stuff, you can play less in the single entry. If you want to play a little bit more single entry, you can play a little bit more there. But the important thing is to find that balance and be playing a good mix of both of these, because one is going to give you higher ROI, softer contests, and the other is going to give you a little bit of lower ROI, but reduce your variance here. So you can see I've played the 20 and 150 maxes here. I played the dime, I played the quarter, and I played the first down, which is about $27. And then I am playing another $33 here in 66 entries in the mini max. So that adds up to $60 almost exactly. Actually, literally exactly. And then for the 40% in the single entries, you can see how it comes together here. I'm playing 2 different daily dollars, $1 single entries. I'm playing a single back, which is a $1 3 max. I am playing the $3 single entries and the $3 3 max, and then starting to play the $5 single entry here and a couple entries into the $5 3 max. So as you're filling out those single entries and 3 max contests, you just want to fill the lowest prizes first, or the lowest entry fees first, getting your money in good there, and then increasing your entry fee as you need to fill out the rest of those. So this is an example of what a good portfolio of contests to play on an NFL slate looks like. And obviously this is going to be a little bit different for people based on how much you're actually investing and how much you want to contribute to the single entries and 3 maxes between that 25 and 50% threshold here, but this is about what it should look like. When it comes to the process of putting the best lineups into the right contests, for that, you'll really want to think about these separated into 2 different groups. So you're going to have your single entry and 3 maxes, then you're going to have your 20 max and 150 maxes, and you're going to be building those lineups and filling them separately. So we'll bounce over to the build here, and for the single entry and 3 maxes here, we're grouping them together because they're going to be a similar size most of the time, a similar payout structure, and generally the same strategy needed to build winning lineups here. And you can see that in our settings. So I'm going to specify that these are GPPs here. These are single entry contests. We'll use single entry here. The settings are very similar for 3 max, and most of my single entry and 3 maxes are falling between 10 and 50,000 entrants here. So we'll go ahead and just start building lineups, and we'll talk about what to do next here in just a sec. So at this point in the process, we have our lineups here that are built for success in this type of contest, but now we want to figure out what are the best ones of our pool here that we can actually play. And to do that, there's a couple tools at our disposal. The first is just selecting the correct Sabre score here. Sabre score is an algorithm that combines the projection, the upside, and the ownership of a lineup to identify the best ones to play in certain slate sizes and certain sized contests here. So this is a large slate for the main slate, and these are 10 to 50,000 entrant contests. So I'm going to make sure that's selected, and this will identify the best lineups to play by Sabre score. If you're on SaberSim Ultimate, you can also use the contest sim here and just calculate what is the actual expected ROI of these lineups in contests that resemble what you're actually going to play them into. To do that, we'll go ahead and bounce back over here and create a new contest sim. And I'll call this my single entry and 3 max contests. And I'm going to select the field lineups here. And in theory, I would want to choose low stakes single entry. At the time of me actually recording this here, we don't have all of our different contest field lineups up for week 1, but they will be there by the time you're most likely watching this. So just select the field lineups that closest match what you're actually building for here. For the contest size, I'm going to pick a contest size that is about in between all of the different contests I'm playing in those single entry and 3 maxes here, which is about 25,000 contests. From here, I'm going to check out the percent prize to first and the percent of entries paid for a contest of this type. And if you're not sure where to get that information, going back to the contest tab can be a big help. We have all of the contests available in the lobby here over in the all contest tab. So let's go find what the contest dynamics of my $3 single entry contest is here. So for that, for the biggest one here, it looks like it's paying 10% to first and 25% to cash. And if we actually take a quick look at all of these here, we'll see that a lot of the contests of this type here, anywhere from $1 to $5, all are very similarly close to 10% to first and about 20 or so percent to cash. So let's go ahead and fill this in here, and we'll say 10% to first and 25% of the field caches here. So we'll bounce back over and we'll use that as our contest sim setting. So we've got that filled in here for our contest sim setting. Last thing I'll do is just increase the number of sims to 100,000, which is the max we can use here. And I'll kick off a contest sim for these particular lineups, allowing me to directly calculate the ROI or the best lineups I could possibly play in contests of this type. Now that our contest sim is finished here, we'll go ahead and sort by the risk-adjusted ROI for the contest here that we're actually simulating, which is those single entries and 3 max contests. Last thing we want to do here before we're ready to put these into our actual contests is use smart diversification principles. And to do that, we're going to use the min uniques. We don't want to just seek ROI at all costs. We want to play a diversified portfolio of lineups here into these contests together, making sure we are maximizing our ROI of these lineups while also making these lineups as different as possible from one another. So to do that, first of all, we need to figure out exactly how many lineups we need in these particular contests. So we'll take a quick look and we see that we are playing 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 lineups in single entry and 3 max contests. So we'll change this to 15. And then I just want to figure out what is the maximum amount of diversification I can get here while still playing profitable lineups. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of stress test this here and see what happens when I really crank min uniques up here. So if I go all the way up to 8, we'll see that I stop getting 15 lineups. So we know I can't go as high as 8. Let's go ahead and take a look at 7 here and see, are we still playing profitable lineups with these contests? We are here. So what I typically like to do is set my min uniques to 1 less than the maximum number I can, where I'm still getting the number of lineups I need out while they're still also profitable by risk-adjusted ROI here. So in that case, I'm going to set this to 1 less than 7, which is kind of the theoretical maximum here. And I know now that I'm playing as diverse a set of lineups here while also still maximizing ROI for my single entry and 3 max contests. So now we are finally ready here to save these to the contests. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and just uncheck. Well, I'm going to check everything, and then I'm going to uncheck the large field stuff here. And I'm going to just fill these using the unique random fill. I recommend using the unique random fill for almost all of your contests, because what that's going to do is it's going to put a random lineup from this set into each of your entries that are available here. And really the practical value of that is that, especially as you start filling the larger contests here, it means your exposure to any given player or stack or team or something like that in any given contest is going to be very similar to what it is in your lineups as a whole. You won't be super concentrated on a couple different plays in particular contests or anything like that. So we'll go ahead here now and click Save to Contests, and that gets us caught up on our single entry and 3 max. What we'll want to do now is repeat this process here for 20 max and 150 maxes. And I'm not going to do that in as much detail here as I did for the single entry and the single entry and 3 max, but what we'll do is we'll create a new build here, which is always a good rule of thumb whenever you're ready to start filling a totally different contest here. We can go ahead and create a new build. Make 2 changes here to abide by the DraftKings rules, and this time we're going to be building for a 20 max that is greater than 50,000 entrants, which is what most of these contests that we're playing in this particular category are. So we'll go ahead and get those lineups going. Okay, so I've got these lineups built now for my 20 max and 150 max contests here, and I knocked out a couple of the other things we just talked about. So to quickly summarize here, I went ahead and I ran a contest sim that was set up for these particular types of contests here instead, increasing the contest size, lowering the percent to first so it matches these particular contests here, and I ran the contest sim and sorted by the risk-adjusted ROI. If you're not on Ultimate, again, what you would want to be doing here instead is just sorting by Saber Score, which is going to do a good job approximating the ROI of these contests. I matched up the number of lineups that I actually need to play here so that it matches the actual contests here. I have 20, 40, 60, and then 126 total entries. And then I increased min uniques 1 less than the highest value I could put it, where I was still getting the number of lineups I needed here, and all of my lineups were profitable by risk-adjusted ROI. And in this case, since there's 126 total, that number was 4, a little bit lower than it is for the single entry and 3 maxes. Now I'm going to save these. So in this case, I'm going to uncheck everything. You can see my single entry and 3 maxes are still filled here, and I'm going to save these to my larger field contests here. Again, using unique random. I want a unique lineup into each of these entries here, randomly picked from my pool of 126 lineups. So we'll go ahead and save those to the contests. Now we can go ahead and bounce back to the contest tab here and get these uploaded to DraftKings. So all we need to do here is, once we verified that everything's looking good, we can just click this button here, which is going to download the entries file to DraftKings. And if you have this option checked in the upper right on SaberSim, Open DFS site on download, it will automatically open DraftKings as well, giving you a great place to go ahead and just upload your new entries file. So I know that might seem like a lot of information here, but let's talk about kind of where we've netted out and summarize the 7 rules here that we're following. What we have here is we have a portfolio of contests that is balanced across a variety of different contests here, while conservatively managing our bankroll, playing the softest contests in the lobby here, and getting the right sets of diversified lineups into the right contests. To summarize the 7 rules, the first being wager 2 to 5% of your set bankroll per slate. The second rule being play GPPs only, don't play cash games, focus on GPPs. The third, stay below the $3 per entry fee for as long as you can. The fourth, play 40% of your entries into single entry and 3 max contests, high ROI, high variance type contests. The fifth rule, play the rest of your entries into 20 max and 150 max contests, lower ROI, lower variance contests. And finally, these two kind of go together, play the right lineups into the right contests and follow smart diversification for your entries overall. Now, as I mentioned before, you should be able to apply this framework no matter what DFS software you use. But we built SaberSim with this kind of contest selection framework and playing a lot of entries, finding the best entries, lineups to play in your entries, and diversifying with all of that in mind. And hopefully over the course of this video, you saw how easy it is to do this in SaberSim. So if you'd like to get signed up with a free 5-day trial for the start of the NFL season, you can head over to our site, sabersim.com, and get started. That includes trials for the SaberSim Ultimate plan, which include the nifty contest sims that I demoed a bit here in this video today. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out in our Discord server or by emailing us at support@sabersim.com. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching and good luck this NFL season.